Hello, ladies. My name is Natalie Jobity, and I'm the Brilliance Unveiler, founder of the Unveil Way, and host and creator of Limitless Leaders Summit, designed for women ready to break barriers, fulfill their destiny, and own their sovereignty. I am so passionate about women elevating, expanding how they see themselves and the world around them, and evolving so that the old paradigms, patterns, and perspectives that no longer serve them are shed so they can truly shine in their brilliance. Because the truth is, the possibilities are endless when we embody our highest identity and take the reins of our lives and become the limitless beings that we truly are. Our
Mm.
powerhouse, amazing speaker today is Melissa Minnich. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Natalie. I'm so excited to be back with you again.
Yes, I am thrilled for you to be back again. So more about Melissa. She stands as a beacon of transformation in the realm of consciousness and human potential. As a respected international speaker, humanitarian, and spiritual thought leader and author, Melissa's life journey is a testament to the power of resilience and the human spirit. With commitment to elevating global consciousness, she's established herself as a dynamic force in the realms of quantum healing, neuroscience, and ancient spiritual wisdom. Melissa is the founder of Sacred Soul Alchemy Mystery School, and delves deep into the synergies between cutting-edge science and time-honored spiritual practices. Drawing from her vast knowledge and experience in quantum physics, energy healing, Vedic science, and spiritual psychology, she's created a unique pathway for individuals seeking enlightenment, healing, and empowerment. And her groundbreaking work is epitomized in her upcoming book, High on Life, A Prescription for Bliss, a widely acclaimed Quantum Miracles docu-series. These platforms not only explore the intersection of science and spirituality, but also have catalyzed a global awakening, touching over 1 million lives. Her approach is holistic, integrating shamanic practices, biohacking, mental health strategies, trauma healing, and all aimed at harmonizing the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of being. And Melissa has teamed up with and shared stages with amazing people like Marion Williamson, Neil Donald Walsh, um, Don Muel Ruiz, and all these amazing. So she's a powerhouse for sure.
Mhm.
So our topic today is based on the title of her book, High on Life: A Prescription for Bliss. And so, Melissa, first I want to ask you, like, this bridging you've done between science and spirituality, how do you see us cultivating conscious awareness to empower women to challenge the limiting beliefs that prevent them from stepping fully into their roles as visionary leaders?
Mhm. Well, the what I've come to terms with and really started to notice is in the Western mind, what we need is more than just a woo-woo, like go somewhere out there, go within, meditate. We need a grounded, a tangible aspect to it, right? And so what we've moved out of that stage of where we're saying, okay, I'm just going to go within. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do these things, and my whole life is going to change, right? We had The Secret come out, and The Secret was so phenomenal. And we heard about the law of attraction, but then everybody's like, oh, I'm going to go sit on my couch and attract shit to myself.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're like, wait, but what's going on? Why isn't this working? And so, as myself as a scientist who really was like not about the woo woo world, right? I because of my trauma, because of all my stuff, I had a father that was a minister who was also a sociopath and a rapist, right? I had all these things that I really stepped away from the world of anything that had to do with religion or spirituality or any of that stuff. And I went down this road of like, give me some whole, cold, hard freaking
Data.
facts around things. And then by doing that, I was open to this other world. And what I learned is like there's these different steps, right? And so this world that we've been living in around like how do I became a really strong, powerful leader after being homeless, after having all these things. I became a leader. But in the leading as a woman, what I come to find was that I was doing it from that patriarchal
Yes.
place where I'm like, I'm burnt out, I'm overworked, I'm using all of these processes that I've been taught, but now I can't be in my feminine. I don't know
Yes.
aligned to being, to receive and taken care of because I'm go getting and I'm going out there and I'm getting these things. And I'm like, there's got to be a balance. There's got to be a way
Yes.
that I can be in my feminine leadership and still, though, allow for that energetic energy and that flow and these alignments to show up for me. And so what I found is that beyond the idea of manifesting or law of attraction or, I'm going to, because that's still a 3D, I'm going to do, right? I'm doing something to raise my vibration. And by raising my vibration, something is going to be attracted to me from the outside, these things that I want, a car, a house, the
Mm-hmm.
dog, the kid, whatever it is. And what I've now come to learn and understand is what it's called like the law of emergence. When I come into the alignment of my masculine and my feminine, when I align these two energies together, which the masculine is that scientific piece, but then the feminine is this flow and this synchronicity and this way. When I bring those two pieces together, what happens is the things that are in my vibration that are distorted, that are keeping me from the law of vibration, instead of me trying to rise and do something to be in this high vibe place, it then emerges, a law of emergence. It emerges from within me, and I become that which is. And therefore, it's already who I am. I am already this vibration. The thing that is keeping me from attracting and being able to harness the law of attraction is that I have all of this shit in my field, right? All of these things in that are distorting it, that don't allow a true essence of who I am emerge. And I believe as feminine leadership and divine feminine coming into the world now is that we have to say, stop trying to go out there and do the thing that we've been taught. Because again, manifesting at that level is still a masculine way of manifesting. And instead, it's got to emerge and we have to align it within ourselves. And that's why I talk about high on life, bliss consciousness, and how we can emerge from within that.
Oh my God, so much there and so much that is resonating me on a different level than it would have been when we spoke the last time at the last summit, because I have become, Melissa, very aware of my imbalance of masculine and feminine and realizing that I lean on my masculine, and not just because of how I was taught and conditioned. Well, that's definitely a part of it, but I also think they are my strengths. I'm very strategic. I'm very rational. I'm a very, very logical, analytical brain. That's how I am, and that's what made me to succeed in many areas of my life, especially in academics. But of course, and what you're saying is that the other aspects like intuition, adaptability, flow, cyclicality, spirituality, which are more on the feminine side of things, it's like everything has to come to a whole new, like you're saying, you use the word emergence, but alignment where there's good in both, but we've
Yeah.
come to lean so much on the one, we lose out on the benefits of the other. And
Mhm.
I am seeing in my life how, like, wait a minute, I made a decision solely on an analytical, logical perspective. What does my inner knowing tell me? And guess what? In a decision I just made recently, my inner knowing said a different thing. And I went with inner knowing, but my default was the linear, rational, logical decision.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like we all, especially women and we high achievers, we want to do the thing. We want to, we have a vision. We want to manifest. We want to make an impact. We can get so bogged down, caught up in that masculine energy, ignoring the feminine genius. Have you read that book?
Mm.
Great book.
No.
She's one of the speakers, and her book is like, oh my God, so freaking good and all this stuff. Um, we ignore that feminine genius within us, and we don't realize because of that, our full expression can't even be organic and authentic and true and powerful. So
Right.
everything you said, Melissa, resonates so strongly. And I love how you say about becoming that what is already in me.
Mhm.
That's speaking to me on a personal level. And I'm like, should I get vulnerable? I don't know. I don't know if that's, I don't know. Let me think about that and come back. But yes, everything there. So I am curious because I think I'm now realizing how data driven and scientifically qualified you were in the beginning. What got you on the more spiritual path to all of this?
Yeah. So I have a very, very high IQ. I'm getting a PhD in the science of consciousness. I have over 20 degrees and certifications, right? I am a high achiever. I've used my brain for everything, right? So I get it, the strategy,
Yeah,
that very much of like, I want to understand things on the logical level. Like, I process so freaking quickly that most people can't keep up with me, and I
I
have to
agree. I could see it.
way down. Yet what happened for me, and it was a couple of different of those like moments, those ahas, right? Those things where you feel something shift and you're like, oh. So in 2017, it was my 40th birthday, and I was in Bali in a place called Tanalat, and I had been just hosted a retreat there, and I was still in the realm of at that time where I was working a lot with I was doing business coaching for healers. I was doing a lot of body, like like working with the body and that physicality and how we do that and how we show up in our mindset. Like, right, I was NLP, different things
Hmm.
like that. And I'm sitting in Tonalot, and I look up at the sky. And I saw the world viscerally shift around me. I mean, I literally saw this like, and I immediately felt this feeling in my bones, right? And it was this vibration of that unconditional love. It was the feeling of the field of those things that it's like, oh, this bigger consciousness. But I felt all of it, and I knew at that moment that it was always going to be before 40 and after 40. I felt the visceral shift, and I saw in my vision a beautiful and now I know who it was. At the time, I didn't understand who the vision of it looked like an angel because she had wings, and it turns out it was Isis. And she handed me this energetic staff, and she hands me this staff, and I take it into my hand. I'm like, what do I do with the staff, right? Like, I'm like, I'm the logical person here. There's no logic to what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling and all of these things that are happening around me. But the thing that was happening was I was bawling. I sat there and cried for 4 or 5 hours straight. But it wasn't because I was crying because I was sad. I was crying because I was in such a state of awe and wonder. And
Yeah,
the energy was so powerful that I was like, you can't scientifically explain this. My logical mind doesn't understand any of this. I
exactly.
don't know what's going on. And at that time, I started working with my first feminine energies. Mother Mary had come in, and I thought it was a religious thing. And again, like with my father was a minister, I was like, oh, screw you and your whatever. Like, I don't want any of y'all. I want none of this, right? But I kept getting bombarded with this energetic feeling of like love and power. And I was like, oh, there's something really deeper. And I've been meditating for years, but I didn't think meditation was a spiritual thing. But then I started feeling, and that was where I switched over into the feminine, into the flow, because after that, because I was in that vibration, I was in that love, and it was coming from within me. It wasn't like I had been seeking it and trying to be at a vibration of love so that things
Yeah,
would come up, which is what I had been I've been teaching mere, manifestation
manifest. Hmm.
manifestation work at that time as part of my work. And and I was doing that, and yet this was something that was completely like it was coming within me, and it was all around me, and things just started showing up and flowing in my life because I was living into this experience. And so I spent the next 5 years, like moving in and working with this spiritual connection. And I started getting messages and channeling and all these things coming through. And so for someone with a logical mind, I honestly didn't believe it. I was working with clients for years. What I would understand and know what had happened in their past. And I would write it down, and I would never say anything. And then they would say it months later. And I'd be like, knew that. Yep, knew that. And I was like,
Had
okay, there's no
strong
logic to this.
intuition all that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. And it was like, there's nothing here that can logically explain this. There's nothing. I've tapped into something that exists, right? We know that the field is a field of information. We've heard of the Akash, right? Yet we have access to that. And I was like, I've literally tapped into that in such a way that I've become the frequency that it downloads into me. And then, so I spent those years cultivating that flow and that experience. And then when I was in Egypt in 2021, I had the gift of being able to go. It was during COVID, so there was not a lot of people, and I was able to go into the King's Pyramid, and I laid down in the sarcophagus, which is something that very few people in the world have ever been able to
Mm.
do. And when I did, I felt this energetic force go through my spine, and it was like, and I completely, and it was like I activated my pillar of light. It activated that channel on a deeper level. And when I left there, I was taken a couple of days later down to Luxor to the Karnak temples, and these two men in robes. I was with a group of 12 other women, but they came up to me and they said, "Well, you're coming with us." And they took me in and they brought me into a temple that was had all the hieroglyphs that were still in color and everything. They locked me behind this lattice metal gate, and they started doing these ceremonies and all these things, and I could see the language and the sacred geometry in the air as they were doing this. And I'm like, okay, this is again not logical. This is the spiritual thing. And they took me over into a space with a Sekhmet, the statue of Sekhmet, the 2,000-year-old statue of Sekhmet, and I placed my hand on her lion's head on the third eye, and that energetic staff that I had received 5 years before was her staff that she was holding, and it was placed into my body. And I could feel the bottom of it go into my root chakra and the top into my pineal gland, and it started glowing indigo and opened up. And that was when all of these things, like that was when I could no longer say I'm the science or anything. Like I was like, now it's all there. Like my pineal gland had opened, and all of this information and these transmissions from all of these lifetimes and this stuff started filtering in through my system. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. And that was when I truly embraced that feminine flow and that energetic side in 2021. Finally, after all those years, because I was,
Yeah.
and everything started to change. But I was like that. But when that happened, and what I warn people about is when we go into that after that happened, the following year, that 1 year after that, was what my year of death. It was like
Of like shedding and letting go.
7 people. I call it my year of death because 7 people passed away.
Oh,
I
they
had
actually died.
of a relationship. I shut down my company and my business. I left the country. I moved out of my home in California. Like everything changed, right? It was like all these
Was it
things.
like a reboot?
Yeah, it was a complete energetic, a realignment and reboot because I had now integrated those two aspects, this logical piece and this mystical, spiritual piece of that flow. Because I'd been working in the flow now for like 5 years, and I'd been, understanding it, but I still hadn't really embraced it
Embodied it.
and
Yeah.
embodied it. But when I embodied it, it was like when you think you're going to have that truth and all this stuff, like I'd gone through a lot of shit in my life. I was like, oh, I've done it. I've got it. I had it all right. And then that year hit, and I was like, honestly, is there more?
We
Like, can
don't know what we don't know. And I believe, Melissa, that we will never know. Like there's always going to be more. And there, the old psychological pyramid of self-actualization, Maslow's theory. I'm saying the right thing, Maslow's theory, right? Self-actualization at the top. There's no limit to self-actualize. You don't get there and you're like, I'm self-actualized.
right?
Like
Wow.
that doesn't exist. That is an illusion. There is the God, the creator of this universe. We are men. We are channels. We are vessels of him. But he is so beyond our understanding and what he does. And I can go into the whole thing on that. But to me, I know that my too very rational, logical mind wants to understand why did this happen? Why did a 1 + 1 not equal 2? I don't get it. And there are many things in this lifetime in this world that the rational, logical, analytical mind will not be able to compute because that's just a part of the equation of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I mean, we could go on and not just that alone, but thank you for sharing that. And it's funny because it's really resonating with me so much strong because I am in that mode right now of trying to balance it and recognize how I innately lean so much more masculine and some of my blocks when it has come to finding the love of my life and different things that is part of that I think me being not realizing that my femininity is not on high display
Mm.
anyway. So just so interesting. um so to your book High on Life, you emphasize how reducing stress and about and finding authentic joy. So how would you say women leaders can use the principles that you have in your book to stay grounded and resilient
Mm.
while breaking barriers, because part of this is about breaking the internal and the external systemic barriers, Melissa.
Yeah. Well, staying grounded. So this is one of the things that I think is one of the most powerful things that we can talk about is grounding, because especially when you're stepping in as a leader, you're in, even if you're in the masculine world and you're doing this, but yet you want to stay aligned to that femininity. Mother Gaia is the feminine consciousness, right? The earth is our feminine consciousness, and grounding is literally grounding our energy into her, into that energy, so that we can align ourselves and be the power of that. You think of it like this, if we don't have a grounding cord, if we're not grounded into the ground, we float out. We're out there, and we can
We're
and
disconnected.
disconnected, and things become on the whim, and but yet grounding is an embodiment, right? So in this logical, when we're in the logical mind, we're here, we're up in our heads, we're out here, we're not in our bodies, but the body is the wisdom keeper and the embodiment. So when I ground in and we come into the body and ground myself into Mother Gaia, it becomes something where the action that I'm taking, again, it's inspired, it comes from the inside, instead of it saying this thing that I have to do on the outside. Every action, everything that I do, how I plan my year in my business, right? I've ran several successful businesses. I've had several seven-figure businesses. I understand that piece of masculine, but how I run my business differently now is I do less, I launch less, I offer less, and I ground in, and things that I do come from within me and out. And those things are so freaking powerful, and the people have the connection to them, because I'm not following the plan of like, if you're
Yes.
going to make $1 million this year, this is the thing and how you have to do this thing and make it happen this way. And yet the inspiration that's coming from within, because I'm grounded in my body, and you feel it. We have the three brains, the great brain in the gut, the brain in the heart, and this brain here. We have to have those three aligned
Aligned.
together and grounded. And when that happens, you'll know from within if this is right. You said, logically, I was supposed to do this thing, but then I knew within, and I did something different. Every time I have followed this other one over here that doesn't, and it's never a
Doesn't
fucking
make sense. Never makes sense.
makes
Yeah.
no sense. In the spread of it all, you look at it and be like, there's no way that's going to work. How the freak is that going to work, right? Yet when it becomes from that place, it's coming from something greater, above and beyond this, whatever you want to call it, God, source, the universe, the unified field. If you're a scientist, that's, whatever you want to call it. When you're aligning to that information, it is so much greater than anything you can control from right here, that it becomes this thing. And so I align to that. And I literally have had, like, as if by magic, magical things are appearing in my life. This book that's coming out with Hay House, I had written three other books prior. I was in compilation books. And yet every single day I was like, Hay House was the thing for me, right? I was like, I'm going to do that. So I would see myself as a Hay House author. I was seeing myself, having this book with them. And so that was the feminine, right? I knew
You knew, even though there was no evidence to support that, you knew that
no
that was going to
evidence,
happen.
but I knew, and there's a difference. People say we're like manifesting, they're like, I'm excited or I want this thing. No, I knew in my soul, like, the sun's gonna shine tomorrow, right? We know the sun is coming up. We know the grass grows. Like, it's like that kind of knowing.
I
I
get
knew.
it.
And then from that place, I took small actions. I get into a Hay House writing group. I went to a Hay House event. I went right like this, and then I would show up. They would have these writing contests. I entered my book in a writing contest. No, in a right. The third time I entered, when I submitted and hit send, I was like, this is the
This is
one.
it.
Within 3 days, they messaged me back and asked me a question. And then 2 months later, they told me that I got runner up for the book and that it was going to be published, right? But I knew. And so this is that inspiration. So I've created, like, my whole year. I've always wanted to be a teacher at Omega, but in the past, what I would have done if I wanted to be a teacher at a place, who's their HR? How do I submit my stuff to them? How do I, whatever,
The
blah, blah, blah,
logical, rational, linear process.
all
Yep.
the rational things. I didn't do that. I'm online. I'm doing an interview just like you're interviewing me. And the person that I'm interviewing is a teacher at Omega, and I'm talking about my book. And he said, and I didn't even know he had been at Omega the week before teaching. And we're talking about my book, and he looks at me and he says, "Oh my gosh, Omega would love you. I'm going to connect you." And that was it, right? Connection. I'm teaching at Omega in September this year for a week, right?
Wow.
Retreat. But again, I didn't do anything
You
massive
didn't make it happen.
make it happen. But I knew, and it was a set within me that this was gonna happen, right? Same with how
Yeah.
I've gotten on podcasts and TV shows and different things. So we're finding the balance, but at that same time, when Omega reached out, what did I have to do? Masculine. I had to send them a video
Of
about myself.
course.
I had to do this. I had to show them a piece of my book, right? I had to have other things in place that showed that I was going to be valuable to that experience, right? So it's that both
The
of those.
balance.
Yeah, and that's where we break the barrier. We have to break the barrier of thinking that the only way I'm going to get things done is through this way. How do I align to the knowingness of if this is what I am meant to be doing? And if you keep getting blocks and barriers to something, then pay attention to that too, because that's always a message.
That is all, even though it's so hard to understand, it's always a sign that something is out of alliance, something is out
Yep.
of alignment,
Sometimes
aligned.
it's just you're not ready yet, right? I
Timing may
always
not
say
be
there's
right.
three answers the universe gives you. Yes, yes, but not now, or no. When it's a no, you'll get the no and understanding right away. But sometimes it's a yes, but you've got to grow, learn, do something to have that. The next time it's a yes, but not now. And sometimes it's a yes, right the heck now. You get it,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
want to
so,
give you an example because it's so funny. So this is an interesting one because my knowing knows speaking is one of my gifts and one of my propelling paths forward, but
mhm,
I'm not comfortable with it, right? But my knowing, but because I've been tapping into my knowing more, the idea of doing a TEDx talk to me was like, why would I do that? That would be so nervous. That's crazy. But I went and I was looking around in October. I was in because when I was in the zone of, oh my God, I'm going to end this year with a bang. I was looking around. I found one. Didn't know anything about the process. Applied to this one, but I had no idea what I was doing. No context or anything like that. I thought I didn't hear from
yeah,
them. But here's the point. I was actually relieved when I heard nothing. I'm like, what were you thinking, Natalie? That's crazy. And guess what happened? I think in December, I get a message back. And anyway, so they just announced it today. It made it public. It's going to be in May, but I'll be speaking at this TEDx event.
yes,
So here's the crazy thing. So here's what I want to say though. My intuitive being knows and believes in my ability to nail that. My
mhm,
rational, intellectual outlook of mine is like, you,
yeah. You're
that's
not. You're
yeah,
not. Yeah. Yep. I feel you. I get that all the time. I get the I trust me. So I opened a mystery school this year, the Sacred Soul Alchemy Mystery School, and I opened it in April after shutting down my business in 2022 and taking all of that time off, right? So we're back into 20, or it was it's
2024. Yeah.
2024, right? So it was almost 2 full years later. And I'm getting the messages and the download. I'm like, who am I? Like, why would I open a mystery school? Like, why am I gonna? No, 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 no. I ain't doing that. Like, I don't even understand, right? And so my rational mind was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. But since I was getting the message, what I did was I said, okay, let's play a game. If this is what I'm supposed to be doing, I literally challenged my guides and my intuition. I said, if that's the case, I'm not going back to that old school marketing, the way I burnt myself out on my old business, all of the things I was doing. I'm not going to do it. I'm not building landing pages and doing all the thing and hiring teams and whatever. You fill it for me the first round, and if it gets filled and it's good, then I'll go do the work. And that's what I did. And we filled that first round back in April of 2024. And we had a mind-blowing experience. And people were like, you have to keep going. So then I said, okay, now I'll go build the landing page, but
Yeah.
tell what we're teaching off, right? That kind of thing. But I was like, I need to have this. If this is, I need to know this isn't my ego or something. I need to know this is really what I'm meant to be doing,
Right.
not me going back in again and trying to be that forceful. I'm doing this thing because this is what I want to do, right?
Exactly. Oh my God. And it, and to 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 make bad of the will and motivation, because that's all stuff
Oh,
that has gotten us a lot of stuff, right? So we're not saying that
I
that's
still had to
bad.
have will and motivation to
Me
show up
too.
and do right. Like, no, I love that. Like, I work out. I'm a CrossFitter. I'm an ice climber. I'm a snowboarder. I hike mountains all over the world. Right. Like, I got will and motivation for sure. Right. Like,
You're a generator.
we have to have that, but that will and motivation shouldn't be a forcing into I'm going to use that because I have to try so hard. Because I used to build my business. I was homeless in 2009. I lived in my car and at my friends' houses, right? I was building my former businesses out of fear, and because I had to make this thing happen, and this time it was out of no alignment. This
Right. So will and motivation is forcing ourselves to make the thing happen. Whereas coming from your inspired self, like you're saying, it all flows. It flows, and we draw the right energy, we draw the right opportunities. And it's so much easier.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
then I
God.
don't have the stress because when you go in and you force things out, this is where when I talk about going from stressed out to blissed out, right? When we get into a place where if you are stressed, stress is actually something that is very good for you because it is a sign. It is there to teach you something and to show you something. Because if you are stressed out, that is because something is off and you're supposed to look at that. I now do everything in a place of joy and bliss and in this higher state of consciousness because I live in that higher state of bliss consciousness. The messages come in and I take action from there and there's no stress behind it because then I know that it's aligned. Whereas when I'm not in that space, and I've done it, there's been times where I've tried this other thing and I go and I know, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, stress, here we go. Texting my, team with this. Wait, what's going on here? Why isn't this working? And then I'm like, oh, you're off. You're off.
Yeah. We want
That's the difference. It's the difference is not the action that you're taking. The difference is how is it behind the scenes of it? Where is it in your body? Is it anxious? Is there anxiety? Because
yeah.
that anxiousness and the anxiety is actually keeping you from having the flow and the femininity and that spiritual connection for the alignment that's going to allow for the things to show up in the way they're supposed to.
And for you to have the joy and the high on life feeling.
Yes.
So
Yes.
talk about the prescriptions you have to manifest bliss and to make our goals happen in so and how like how those strategies can help us cl clarify our vision. So the woman listening, many of them will have dreams, goals, ambitions, desires. How can those prescriptions help organically, naturally, effectively manifest those to
Yeah.
being?
Well, so we're living in a world that's driven by a relentless pursuit for success, instant gratification, external validation, and many of us are finding ourselves caught in that cycle of stress or anxiety and disconnection. And so then that drives us to, whether it's a glass of wine or scrolling through social media or the next shopping spree, right? We're looking for like temporary relief from these pressures.
I call them sugar highs.
Yeah, instead of addressing these root these root causes. And so the prescriptions that I talk about in our book is like when we go from prescribing ourselves the medication of life, which is whatever we take for the stress, the pills that we might pop, or the social media we scroll through to numb out, or the sugar that we're eating, right? Those types of things. When we go in and I call it the bliss prescription, each chapter at the end of the book, it has a prescription for bliss, and it's a step-by-step process that builds on each other. And the first one, which is first off, the first is before the book starts, is about reflection, right? Like honoring and reflecting, like everything that is where you are now. Look at your life 10 years ago. I can guarantee you where you are right now it's the culmination of all those 10 years, and there's gratitude and appreciation and beauty in this piece here. So allowing yourself to reflect on how far you've already come, right? And then from that, harnessing our breath. Our breath is far more than just a physical act of like inhaling and exhaling. It is the gateway to your bliss consciousness. It's the gateway to building a pillar of light. It aligns your energy centers. It connects you deeply with this universal field of consciousness. And so when you learn, even if it's just to stop and take a deep breath, like everybody, let's just do it right now, right? You are automatically in the present moment. The key is present moment. When we're not looking into the past, worrying about the future, when I can come into my breath. And so we teach some breathing techniques in there that align you. But even if you just take a moment every day and just breathe deep. We have forgotten how to breathe. Our breath is up here, it's stuck. It's in our shoulders, right? It's here in
Very
this.
superficial, very, yeah.
Yeah. And so that breath is the breath of life. Breath is actually spirit. It is, it's the first thing we take and the last thing that goes,
Yeah.
right? And it is our connection to that spirit. So breath is so powerful. And then we learned how to ground, right? Grounding in. So I teach a process called the Mula Bandha lock, where you're working with the perineum and the lower chakra region, right? The buttocks, and you're learning how to ground into your body, to embody, and then take that energy and push it into the earth so that you can ground in. We also talk about things like yoga, movement, mudras, dancing. We have animal bodies, and in nature, animals, when they have stress, they shake it off, right?
Yeah.
They go running. We haven't learned how to do that. We have forgotten. So our bodies actually have, and I talk about the science of the sacred geometry in our bodies. Our bodies have ley lines and sacred geometry, and then we have infinite symbols of figure eights in our bones, our body, and our DNA. Our DNA has sacred geometry in it. So we are actually supposed to be aligning the sacred geometry in our bodies through certain ways that we move, and through that, then we have to think about the voice and the command. So we have over the whole book, there's 11 different prescriptions, and they each build on each other. Some of them are working with, how do I heal my childhood trauma? We all have that shit, right? The inner child, the things like that. Some of it has to do with that physical embodiment. I talk about working with, so the medicine of the future is light, frequency, and sound, right? So light is, we have light codes in our system, light, the power of actual sunlight, right? The physical on the outside, but our pineal gland, our DNA, and our cells produce light. We are literally, when the spiritual saying, I am light, we are light and light beings. And you can actually learn how to harness your own light and build that pillar of light within you. And when you do that, it raises your consciousness. It raises the who you are, and it heals your energy field. And then you can go in and work with the toroidal field of energy. You can work with this universal field of consciousness, the unified field. So I go into the Vedic science, I go into the quantum physics, I talk about the neuroscience, we go into brain waves, right? You learn how to align your brain waves with your heart rate variable. When you get those two cohering together in
The
harmony,
heart math. Oh my
it
gosh.
heals, right? Heart math, all of those types of things. So these little simple prescriptions for your life, when you add them into your daily life, you will have mind-blowing shifts that will allow you to harness those two energies, the masculine and the feminine, together, and then align to your own pillar of light.
And because of that, that's how the things you desire will come more naturally to
Yep.
being.
Yeah.
You'll be
That's how you
guided.
become limitless.
Well, we could go more there, please. Please talk about
Literally.
your definition of limitless and what that means to you, what that looks like to you, what is involved in all of that in your mind.
So limitless to me in the realm of quantum physics, right? As someone who's studying quantum physics and the unified field, limitless is the field of infinite possibility. So I say, look at it like this. I look at the quantum as at the unified field as if, remember when we were kids and we had alphabet soup? You know, you remember you have
Yeah.
the little alphabets in there. So that soup, right? You would go through and you'd pick out, I want the A, I want the B. That soup is literally the limitless potential that we have, that exists. And when we focus, then we get the alphabet. We get, oh, I'm going to pick this desire. I'm going to pick this thing. You're picking out the piece of the alphabet. But that limitless potential is, you have the ability for all of it, all of those alphabetical letters, all those desires, everything that you want is in that soup already. It is a limitless opportunity of expansion, whether you want to heal. I've had people that had stage 4 cancer, dying in their deathbed, in the hospital, who found my program and healed in 9 weeks. I have seen physical miracles. I have seen financial miracles. I have seen things, show up in front of people, like out of literally nowhere. This is the possibility of what is actually available when you learn how to harness the power of your mind and your heart together with your gut and ground into the ground, right? That's limitless. Limitless means that the only thing limiting you is your own thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors, and that you have the potential to be, do, and experience anything. And when I say anything, I mean up to a galactic level. We're going to see things here in this year in 2025 that are going to blow people's minds. There are things coming through, and y'all, even if those that are watching this, that you're not in this realm yet, you don't understand, you might think this is where I go crazy. You're like, oh, this woman, she's nuts.
No.
There are ETs and there are other entities out there that are going to start to show themselves, and it's going to be very soon. And we're going to start to see that we are part of a galactic family, and that we all have limitless potential and gifts that come from our other lifetimes, and things that are all trying to come through to us right now. And in the next 50 years, we're going to see such a shift in society, and that's because we're limitless,
Huh.
literally.
Wow. Okay, that was a whole TED talk on limitlessness. But what I want to say about what we're actually seeing right now already, I mean, to me, it's not about us being limitless as much as uh, all the possibilities, even when it's on the negative side. So what's happened with the fires in LA is beyond everybody's understanding. Like nobody can figure out what happened, what made this so crazy. I mean, it literally there's no real logical explanation. People keep trying to finger point, but that's not even the point. It's beyond understanding because it's coming from a force and energy, the creator to send a message. I don't know what the reason is, but it's like there is so much beyond what we see, think, and already know. And so
Right.
I am so 100% around that. And to me, the fires are an example of we don't even begin to know how little we know. And there's almost like a disconnect a little bit, Melissa, if I'm being honest, in terms of yes, we are limitless, and there are a lot of things we don't control, but we can still be our fullness in this environment where yeah, we don't control the climate, we don't control different things that happen, but we still get to be us in our full expression. I guess that's how
Yeah.
I'll put it.
Well, and I'll put a caveat on that. We actually are controlling the climate and controlling those things, because as without is within. It is our own chaos and the own stuff within ourselves that is actually they can watch the Schumann resonance, right? And they do that. You can see when there is more chaos in the world there, or within, right? When there's more fear, when there's more stuff going on, there's more natural disaster, there's more things out in the world that happen.
Energies, right? The energies.
Yep. We use Lynn McTaggart has done intention experiments. I have done experiments where we've worked with moving energy and things with like hurricanes and different things like that. We actually do have control and can control these things. We just don't realize that we're doing it unconsciously by our own inner bullshit right now.
Interesting
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Looking at the time here. Okay, one more question. So
Okay.
before we get into fire round, so this part of this summit is about us owning our sovereignty as women. So in your book, High on Life, what advice would you give to women who are trying to reclaim their power and sovereignty while they're navigating systemic limits?
Mm.
I know it's a tough question, but
No. I think the only way that we reclaim our sovereignty is to stand in the truth of our own authenticity. Like when we, instead of us hiding or shaming ourselves or backing away or not speaking our truth, when I can be the true authentic. I'm a little wild, weird, and crazy, right? Like but you know what, I'm gonna live into that, the truth of who I am, and that sets me into a sovereign state. And there may be a lot of people that I repel, and this means I don't need to be liked by everyone. It is okay if you don't. Actually, if I'm not causing a little bit of dissonance, then there's an issue, right? I want to help change 1 billion lives in my lifetime. I mean, 7 billion people don't have to like me. My sovereignty is my authenticity to, it's okay if you don't like me. And I think that's where we're pleasers. We want to give. We want to make sure everybody is okay. We don't speak our truth. So I find that our sovereignty has to come from, I'm willing to be my authentic truth, the truth of who I am, speak my truth, be it no matter whether you like me or not. And you may think I'm crazy, and you can call me an hysterical woman. You can call me whatever you want. And you know what? I don't care. That's how it goes, right? And I think that truth, that confidence, and it comes from the solar plexus. So that is power of the solar plexus, my confidence grounded into my root chakra of knowing that I am that, right? We
Yeah.
are all that. I am that. You are that. I am source. I am this experience. And I'm going to stand in the truth of who I am. And it's okay if that repels even the people that I love, because that will teach them something too. And I think that that's where we need to come as women to find our sovereignty.
Wow, I love that answer in so many levels. Really, but I want to move on to the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, so much good stuff there. Let's go into fire on Melissa. Okay, 7 questions. Do you have a word theme of the year? And if so, what is it?
Quantum is my word for the year.
Okay. What's one limit you once believed in that you've now completely shattered?
Oh, so many. What's one? I mean, honestly, I didn't believe in spirit. I didn't believe in that. I've shattered that, right? I believe that that's all that there is. I was on the opposite end. I only believed in the real. Real is
Mm, that's a
physical
big one. In 1 or 3 words, how would you describe your leadership presence?
love.
What's a favorite quote or song title you'd like to share that has been instrumental in your life?
Follow your bliss.
That's a quote?
The quote, follow your bliss. Yeah, Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss.
Mm.
Yeah.
Who do you see as a limitless leader in the public eye, past or present?
Ooh, a limitless leader. Well, the first one I'm going to pop that's popping into my mind, and he would never call himself this, and that's why I would have to use him because he's so humble. My dear friend Neil Donald Walsh
Oh,
I have had the opportunity to be and spend time with him and be in his presence and also interview him. And he's the most humble, and I think that that's what the leadership is. It is his it's limitless potential the way he shows up because he always says this isn't me. This isn't.
yeah. And I love that you brought humility in there. That's a whole other thing. Okay, love that. If you could gift every woman one belief about herself, what would it be?
You are fucking powerful.
What's a practice you do often that helps you embody your limitlessness? And I think I know what it is already.
Oh, so many practices that I do, but if I'm going to say embody, then that for me is dance. The embodiment of really aligning. Like I every morning I get up, I put on music and I dance in my kitchen or naked in my backyard. I go out and do my cold plunge, and then I'm like, that's for if I'm going to embody that, then that's for me. The other pieces is always my channel and pillar of light and opening that channel and pillar of light. That's on an energetic level. So those two are the non-negotiables for me.
I think dance, I need to pick that back up. I think so. So thank you for that. Melissa, tell us about your gift, your free gift.
Oh yeah, so today it's connected to what I teach in my book High on Life. So this is bliss consciousness, and it's a journey and a healing and a meditation, a journey and a journal and a book that will get you into working with your DNA and living in bliss consciousness. So you'll get to go through and do some exercises, some of the processes from my book, and then you have a 45-minute journey that takes you into your own body and your DNA and helps you get into a higher state of consciousness.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you for that. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners, viewers, before you go?
I just think that we are all limitless. So go out in the world and be your authentic self.
Yeah, authenticity is so that's my core value, my number one core value. And I believe that when we are in our full authentic expression, we are limitless, unstoppable, full on,
Mhm.
powerful, all the things.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you, Melissa. I love your energy is so contagious. I love it. I love that you were part of the summit again. And just thank you for all the gems that are packed into those 40 something minutes. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And can I just share where you can find my
Oh,
book?
yes, absolutely.
Go to highonlifebook.com.
And it's coming out in April.
It'll be out in April, but you can pre-order it right now.
Oh, awesome. Okay, everybody, you heard all the good stuff in that book, and she's put a lot of time, love, and energy into that. So you want to go grab Melissa's High on Life Prescription for Bliss book.
Mhm.
Woohoo! It's gonna be a bestseller. Sure of it. All right, Melissa, lovely to have you. Bye, everyone. See you soon.